Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the SuperNova Astrology Update for May 13th through 20th, 2024. Well, we're in a massively activating time with the Sun today, hanging out with Uranus. We had a massive conjunction, very powerful, in April of Jupiter finally catching up to Uranus in Taurus, and these big energies coming together. Now we have our personal planets, one after the other, going over this these planets. Now they're not exactly in conjunction. They're still a few degrees apart, but today is when it all starts because the sun has caught up to Uranus. So we'll have 6 of these conjunctions as our personal planets cascade and move over this beautiful configuration in the sign of Taurus. So let's talk this through. Uranus is higher frequency vibration, the ruler of Aquarius. It's like turning on, sticking your finger in the light socket, kind of the energy we were feeling, perhaps, if you saw those auroras this weekend. Very activating. Difficult to sleep after that powerful energy influx. And this is exactly the energy of our astrology right now. Mystical signs and revelations, proof. What if the Taurus energy, Uranus and Jupiter together, is literally manifestation of spirit? So, because Taurus is the earth sign, fixed earth, the earthiest of the earth, the most manifest of all the earth signs. And we're talking about spiritual energies, vibrations literally coming in to form the evidence, the inheritance. So, um, we can kind of surmise, we've been talking about these planets coming together in Taurus, but we don't really know what it means until now when our personal planets interact with them. So it's very powerful. The sun today exactly conjunct Uranus, and we'll feel that for the next 3, 4 days. And then the sun will come right into a conjunction with Jupiter. So right now, Uranus is at 23 degrees of Taurus, and Jupiter is will be at 27 degrees when the sun comes up to Jupiter. So Uranus, it's very interesting because Uranus and um, Jupiter are still within 3 degrees of making it an official conjunction. Just as they move to 4 degrees, we've got the sun making a leap. So the sun is who we think we are, our identity, and it speaks to our day-to-day understanding of managing our personality and navigating in the world, but it's also our bigger spiritual sun, that bigger spiritual self. And whoa, are you feeling it? We've been talking from the beginning about supernova souls and our whole journey here, the downloads that started coming through around 2015, saying we have a bigger self. There's a whole bigger part of us that has not been able to incarnate. And at some point it will. And it feels like now it's kind of like now or never. So there's this energy of our personal planets moving over this incredibly powerful conjunction, bringing it home into our lives, telling us what this might mean for our personal life. And it's kind of starting out with the sun Uranus, like, whoa, you are so much more powerful. You're so much bigger. You're so much brighter. You're so much more than what we've been told. And especially for us supernova souls. And it's like, ching, flash of light, news flash. You're not who you think you are. You're so much more. And everything that surrounded you for lifetimes has been about invalidating and distracting you from this truth of who you really are. As we face this down at this incredible time in our human evolution, what we're realizing, who we are, which we're not don't really know yet, and we still are incarnating, but who we are, we know this, who we really are, and in our power and potential, we are more powerful than those energies that have sought to control us. And this is our turning point. This is the first half of 2024 turning point. Um, who we are is more powerful, stronger uh, than the forces that have sought to oppose us and oppress us. So now what do? We're there waiting at the gate for it to be unleashed. And this is exactly what this whole time has been about with this Aries explosion, total solar eclipse right next to Chiron in Aries and our all of our personal planets transiting over these spots. And now we have Mars in Aries will be transiting over Chiron in the eclipse point. And Mars is our get up and go. But Aries and Mars is the ruler of Aries. So it's bringing it all home. It's like Mercury in Aries, even for 2 whole months and crossing over the North Node, and the eclipse point 3 times. Still, Mercury doesn't know Aries, doesn't activate Aries like Mars does. So Mars at home in Aries, Mars will go over Chiron on the 30th of May and the eclipse point on the 26th of May. So that last week of May, it's like the motor on the boat. Let's get up and go. What are we going to do about it? The thing is we couldn't have done anything about it up until now because we weren't owning our energy. And this is a lot of what's playing out for us supernova souls, showing you everywhere that you're still willing to hand over your precious, precious treasures and jewels. Because what's happened over our evolution is we've gone through so much and been so devoted to the mother's dream, coming back again and again, even though we've been persecuted and treated horribly. We have to understand that the forces, what we've been building is spiritual wealth. And we're in a wealth revolution with Uranus and Taurus. Because Uranus is a revolutionary change, radical shifting in new directions, new energies, higher frequency vibrations. So we're having this radical revolution of wealth and our relationship to physical form. So what we're finding here, this is an inevitable thing, and you might not. This is like, God, I've gone through all this and the oppression and all that. But what if the hardest thing you've ever done is just to own your wealth back? Because right now, as you're stepping into your power, forces are going to show up in your life, and this is a lot of what's happening. It could be energies that you've been familiar with, relations, or it could be random people, but kind of being like, oh, what you got over there? So clean and neat and nice and activated, and I want some of that. Give it to me, you know? And one of the hardest things in the whole world, and yet it's what source the mother is asking us to do, is to own this wealth for ourselves. For supernova souls, that's the hardest thing because we're givers and we're lovers and we want to just offer. And right now we're being asked to be like, mine, all mine. Because you know what? They didn't do the work that you did. And you've gone through hell and back. And now it's time to reap the rewards. You have to understand that the spiritual inheritance that we're talking about isn't just of this last few years of difficulty and things you've gone through and learned and grown, and you're showing up doing the work, right? It's lifetimes that you've been showing up and doing the work really intensely. Don't let anyone take that from you, because now the forces, it's not just that they want that energy for themselves. They want to keep, it's ultimately about trying to keep you from your own inheritance and your own spiritual wealth. And it's very lonely because everyone around, who most of us have been surrounded by people who do not have access to this spiritual wealth within them. The pattern is really important to understand throughout evolution, of that we have been building and growing the spiritual wealth, even though it looks like we've been traumatized and going through, um, we've been growing the spiritual wealth. And what happens is that, you can see this pattern where every time a spiritual organization or an energy or a group or a project comes together and it starts that growing that energy of this spiritual wealth, the forces come along and they want to steal it. If you do not let them steal it, they will poison it, turn everyone against you. We've seen the infiltration, the invasion, and it's just important to see the pattern. so that we can recognize it today, because those forces that are coming along and being like, "Oh, this is look at all this, like, I didn't now I'm seeing the value of the your wealth and worth, but I treated you like garbage all these years, disregarded you, and now I wanna take the spoils of all of your hard work, and if you don't give it to them, I'll just" this is kind of what it's not this it's the forces, the psychopathic, narcissistic forces that can work through anyone, um, that's kinda how they work. They're like, "Hand it over, and if you don't hand it over, then we will try to manipulate it out of you. If the manipulation doesn't work, then we will just take it by force." And this stealing, disregard, invalidation, and poisoning of all of the fruits of your labor over many lifetimes. Have we had enough of this now? Because guess what? We just realized that we're more powerful than them. We knew this kind of, but now we're seeing it and feeling it as one by one supernova souls are claiming their energy back fully and completely from where they've been giving it away and slipping out of that lower matrix. And immediately the manifestation power of the new earth energies just growing. It's wild because it's going from like we've been completely blocked in manifesting. I'm sure you felt it. It's like the whole thing, like, "Oh, go ahead, build something. We'll come along and steal it or poison it or, rape you or whatever to get it from you." And so now it's absolutely that's interesting, Freudian slip. It's absolutely essential, which might be in this ascension, that we do not allow this inheritance to be used by anyone but us. And it's hard. It feels guilty and shameful, because you've always been the one that wants to give and help and serve, you know? And especially over these last years, you've had a lot of rejection playing out. And now they're going to be coming back wanting what you have. And we can love them without giving over our energy, right? Because we know the mother has them. And this is so powerful for us too. Because for some reason, supernova souls, all of humanity, but supernova souls have been particularly plagued with this incredibly, like, just low self worth. And so, what if our manifestation power is coming back and the mother's like, come on, let's go, let's co create new earth. And then we're like, well, I don't know if I deserve it really because so here we are going, I don't know if I deserve help, support, the good things in life because maybe we've never had them, we've been programmed to think we only deserve the crumbs and the leftovers. And yet we're at this place of stepping into our manifestation power. Do you see how those don't go together? We can't be leaking out our energy and not feeling worthy of our own manifestations and move forward into this new age. And so this is everything the astrology is about right now. But going back to these conjunctions with Uranus and Jupiter of our personal planets, it's just activation after activation of these little silver bells ringing. And it really feels like the landing home of our angelic self, this bigger self. Now, we've been stuck in pieces. You're not whole and complete. This is part of why you've been flailing. It's like supernova souls feel like sometimes like, gosh, I'm really can handle, like, I love to can work on these other levels of energy and consciousness and healing, but the 3D reality is just a constant challenge, because we're not fully here. We're not fully in our body. We don't even know who we are. And yet now is the time to land home. And that's exactly what these transits are saying. Starting with Sun Uranus, it's like, oh, ding, 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 ding. You're so much bigger and more powerful than who you are. And then this cascade of continuing activations as these planets link up, right? Because Jupiter and Uranus starting to separate. And it's just like you can't make this stuff up. The story unfolding continually in the planets and the stars. We have to this it's so important that we're paying attention to this right now. So we've got the planets going over Uranus, and Uranus is like ding 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 zing zing, higher frequency vibrations, energies, future technology. And then Jupiter is this expander crystal. And so what's happening in this next few weeks as we have all of these personal planets visiting Uranus and then Jupiter, it's like activation, zing, you know? And we've had this energy where it's like, whoa, the light came on, and you'll have that moment of revelation and realization, but the light also shines what's hidden in the darkness. And then there's the cleanup that kind of needs to happen. So this is really interesting because it's almost like a breath and a breathing, which is really cool because these transits are all happening in Taurus. And Taurus is our earth mother goddess energy, that fixed earth and about coming into form. Taurus is all about us feeling worthy and have and so that we can receive what we need to survive, our basic needs to come into form. This is a huge energy for supernova souls. Root chakra, not feeling safe on the earth, not feeling, I mean, right? First of all, you gotta like feel like you can exist, and then you can work on like having what you need to survive, right? And so we've been really stuck in this supernova souls. It's the story that they've plagued us with the programming, through this evolution with targeting and persecution. And so it's like we've been duped into thinking that this is their world and we're just trying to come bring the light and save the people. And what we've been realizing with this activation of our new earth, of the showering stars and the massive expansion of activating energies, it's like, oh, wait a minute. This is our earth, or it's the mother's, and we're with her. So it's ours. It's her. She has rightful dominion over this place. And that's one thing, but now she's claiming it back, and we're standing with her as her army, How can we stand with her as her army, claim back her world if we don't feel we deserve to have our basic needs met? You know? This is why coming back to the mother is so important for us right now. It is the crucial, single most important exercise because our mother wants to take care of us. And when you're in the energy of that, you can heal all the wounds of being rejected, cast aside, all everything stolen from you. No one, no support, real support of community or resources to support you and your who you are. All that can be healed. We can't move into our soulmate relationships and coming together with supernova souls and building this new earth if we're still feeling wounded and undeserving and victimized by this place. And we got to crawl ourselves back to the mother, right? It's that place where you're like, there's no hope in a way. We've all been beaten down to this place in these last few years where you find yourself just like in complete surrender to the mother, breathing, loving, praying. And then the help comes. It always does. And that's why we've been going through what we've been going through. This unshakable trust and knowing that we're cared for. And then it's like releasing us from all of these energies of the relationships that are not serving us. Those, so we have to remember that every time the North Node has been activated in this whole saga of Mercury retrograde eclipse season, Jupiter Uranus, um, that is also activating the South Node, and that's in Libra. So we're talking about the South Node is the past. So these relationships that are keeping us in the past, and also the relationships that are keeping us from the real relationships of our future that we deserve and that we earned our inheritance. We've known each other for so long. We've already established these relationships. It's beautiful, but we've been blocked and we blocked ourselves, not feeling worthy of this inheritance. So that's part of our inheritance. Don't let anyone take it from you. And so those relationships are coming up where we've been leaking out that energy. And this astrology is just the perfect configuration with all the Aries forcing us to say mine. No, it's mine. And I'm going to take it and it's mine because it's only to be used in alignment with the mother. And now I'm there again. I'm back with her. I went far away. I thought she didn't love me. I thought she abandoned me. I thought she left me behind. That was all those that was all those energies pretending to be mother and father. The false god, the controllers, the programming, the control. Our real mother, Earth, she was chained up too. The goddess, that's Mother Earth is a representation, a living, breathing manifestation of our great mother. And she was in chains too, but now she's waking up and we're all going to take back our world and our power together. And that's what this astrology is about. But the Sun Uranus today, it's like, whoa, dude, this is who you are. And what the reality of this flash of light of recognition of who we really are and our bigger self. Because remember, we've been fractured in pieces because we have been traumatized in these past lives. And then part of our soul is stuck there. And it's literally like a soul possession, almost like our astral body is like under the control of these control forces. And they use time travel and cloning and abduction and all this nasty shit. And it's like, no, 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 no more. Right. And we say this in our own body, in our energy with the earth, and we take back our body and she's taking back her body, and it's so beautiful. And we're also coming to this place with this flash of night light of realization of who we are and how powerful we really are. It's like, oh, sorry, you guys don't even stand a chance. You're like a little pesky black fly next to who we are in our organic spiritual power. I can't believe we let you rule our world for all these years. And so how do we move forward? But first we got to kind of figure out who we are, before we can, and our life has to change. That's kind of the energy we've been talking about this, like the new way forward finally. Because guess what? Mercury is finally moving out of retrograde shadow tomorrow, the 14th. And so this saga is coming, this chapter, this whole drama. It's not yet over. It's really not over until the first week of June because we have this continued activation of Jupiter and Uranus. But Mercury coming out of retrograde shadow is a very big marker and saying, now Mercury has been in Aries since, yeah, so Mercury will come out of retrograde shadow on the 14th and move into Taurus on the 16th. And uh, so Mercury's been in Aries all the way since March 11th. It's a long time because Mercury's a very fast moving planet. And so typically, except for retrograde, slows down. So to have 2 full months in a sign, and it's like Aries is so fiery and activating and let's go, and then Mercury has to go backwards and, hang out with the North Node and Chiron and met up with Venus. So much going on, and now the chapter is coming to a close. So, but so when Mercury moves to Taurus, it's gonna be a big shift because 'cause we've been like Aries, 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 and so this next few days, through the rest of this week, while Mercury's at the end degrees of Aries, we're having a huge bloom. Plus, we've got Mars in Aries, his home sign. And so, this huge bloom of the Aries energy of this mine, you know, like, no, this, I'm not going to hand it over to you because it's not that you're not worthy, but you're not. Okay, so this is the message. So, we've got this to kind of clarify this, what's come through in the way things need to play out in the wealth revolution. You are the one, you are a child of light, and you have the inheritance, spiritual inheritance, which is all of the wealth of the world. Now, in order for those other beings who have not done their work, who have been not interested, have been casting us aside, rejecting us, calling us crazy, burning us at the stake, they don't really deserve the inheritance, do they? But it's for all of us. you know? But it's not like that whole thing of like they don't even know it exists. And of course, they see the energy and they're like, "Ooh, I want some of that. Give it to me." You know? Um, and we've done so much work to get this spiritual inheritance, and we cannot hand it over. And there's this message in the Bible that says where Yeshua says you cannot get back to the Father except through me. And it's kind of like that. I don't know, I could be wrong. I don't like to do future and advice, but there's this massive shift in our revolution of wealth where they have to realize. So it's a very difficult thing, but painful, and yet it's absolutely necessary. We have done our part by being persecuted. Like we can stop burning ourselves at the stake now. We can stop crucifying ourselves in our life. We've done it. We played our part. Now we have to put ourselves back together and move forward in a new way. But they have not. Those that persecuted us, those that couldn't help us or save us, those that, were turned against us, on whatever level throughout time. It's like it's a hard thing to realize, and this is this next 6 months of politics, society, astrology, everything. It's realizing where those we trusted the most, we couldn't actually trust at all, you know? Like those leading the, stop child trafficking organizations are actually sup you know, um, supporting the industry of child trafficking, that kind of thing, you know? And these leaders who say they wanna help us, and finding out who everybody really is. But in this whole revolution of wealth, they can't get the inheritance except through us. They need their opportunity, and it's hard because it's like you can kinda understand, I can see this thing of like, "Wait, they told us you guys were the bad guys," you know? And it's like, I'm sorry, and this is kind of where we all these lies, right? It's like, wait a minute, you've been lying to us and manipulating us. And then the answer of these control forces is like, well, you believed it. You handed over your energy. You went along with it. It's not our fault, but so we going along with the program, doing it because you were told to, like disseminating the genocide injection as a health industry worker because because if you knew how bad it was and you still did it, then, you're at fault. We can't just say, well, I was told to do it or everybody else did it or whatever. Like, this is where we take personal responsibility. And this is where we take supernova souls, personal responsibility for our spiritual inheritance, all that we've worked for. And we're not going to let it spill out, be stolen, toxified, poisoned, manipulated anymore. And if you want it, do the work and we'll help you and we'll show you how. But we're not taking you with us anymore. We're not dragging you along, kicking and screaming. You have to make the choice. It's a free will universe. And we're at the time of ascension of the split of like where some go and some stay behind. You have to make the free will choice, you know? And we have to get out of the way and let them do that. And it's not always easy. Like I said, it might be the hardest thing you've ever done. You might rather be tortured than having to say no to someone who wants your energy but does not deserve it. And here we are in this whole thing of feeling that we don't deserve. It's so messed up and backwards, but that's the Piscean age. And we've got Neptune at the end degrees, 29 degrees. I can't even believe Neptune's made it. Neptune is such a slow moving planet, and it won't be until 2026 that Neptune completely moves out of Pisces and into Aries. That's really our fresh new start of our whole reality. Um, but we're supposed to start building now. The messages are saying like some of us are ahead of the game. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and now is the time we begin to build. Now the manifestations can come, and get out of the way and let them happen. Work with the earth, with the mother. Come into alignment, breathe, stop, let the know that the lamp, the light that lights the way it lights it best at your feet. And that's where you just wait for the next step to become clear as we co-create with the mother. It's uncomfortable and yet exciting to let go on that level and to feel like you're loved and cared for, to feel that you're supported, to feel that if you're with the mother and she loves you and she's taking care of you, you've got a whole tribe of people that are with the mother coming back to her. Your whole tribe to activate it's right there. You might not have them in your life right now, but they're having the exact same experience that you're having of tumbling their way back to mother, you know, waking up from the long, long extended chapter of trauma programming. And in order to get out of the trauma programming, we got to heal the trauma. And that was exactly what's coming forward around this eclipse and Mercury retrograde is about that because, the eclipse happened right at 19 degrees Aries, right where Chiron was. And so, and then Mercury 3 times over Chiron, and then our personal planets also went over Chiron, and Mars still has to go over Chiron, right? So that's the final personal planet, and Mars is the ruler of Aries, and that's where we say absolutely the end of the trauma programming and being stuck in the past stories and patterns, and absolutely we put the motor on the boat and we go forward now, and it's definitive. And like I said, Mars comes up to the eclipse point at on the 26th of May, and then Chiron on the 30th. So that's like the last week of May, and that's perfect because we've had by that time the sun went over Uranus, Jupiter, Venus went over Uranus, Jupiter, and Mercury will be doing that. So it's all lining up perfectly to tell us that literally we can lift off the trauma body and all the programming. It's not who we are. It's something we experienced. And it's just like, we have to completely heal it and lift it off. And it's so hard because it's all we've known. We're almost addicted to it. Well, who am I without the trauma programming? Right. But it literally can just lift off like it's been a false overlay on our astral body that's not true to who we are. And then maybe that allows the true self of the parts of ourselves, of our light and talents and skills that have been that were targeted and persecuted when we were targeted and persecuted in past lives. All those treasures and skills that we were persecuted for were buried, you know, buried treasure. And now we have to reclaim all that. So the trauma body leaving and pain body leaving allows room for that true soul spirit to come home, to be complete. And the one thing message I'm getting about this is that you have no idea who you are. You've been, it's like just a part of yourself is you've only been working on a fraction of who you are running your ship here. And now you're landing home and you have no idea who you are. And your whole life has to change to adjust to who you really are. And again, it's like absolutely terrifying and incredibly exciting at the same time. So this is kind of our timeline, and it's a big shift with Mercury then finally moving into Taurus on the 16th, but then comes directly into square with Pluto on the 18th. So it's like Mercury, oh, finally out of Aries, 2 whole months of this, like, just like pressure and tests and initiation around owning our own power everywhere. So everything, so this is what's going on as this energy releases and completes for the rest of the month. You will be having these people show up that have a claim or think they have a claim, or energies that want to have a claim on your energy. And this might be part of the Pluto, Mercury square Pluto. Is Mercury so happy to be out of Aries, finally done with that retrograde night, like just blah, and then right into square with Pluto. And so that is a fixed square. And Pluto at 2 degrees Aquarius, as far as he's made it into Aquarius this year, is like the square is always tension and what's holding us back, what's in the way. You can't go that way anymore. And in this case, we can't go that way anymore if we can't fully receive our wealth and own our wealth, because Mercury just had that total Aries activation now in Taurus. And then Pluto in Aquarius says, are you really ready? Right. So that Pluto, Mercury square Pluto, and we'll feel that from the 15th to the 20th. And so next week, that's pretty much, the end of this week through next week, that's the focus. And it's like, what's still in the way of you moving into the Aquarian age? Where are you still leaking out your power? Where do you still feel that you don't deserve? Where are you still begging for crumbs when you should be showered with abundance and celebrating, glorifying the earth through your celebration of abundance? This is who we are and what we're here to do. We are potentially, I can't say for sure, right? But it appears the read, and we'll just see, right? But the read, like I'm saying, is coming through that we're the disseminators of wealth. So we got to create avenues for abundance. How do we demonstrate new earth? How do we live along with the mother? What's our special set of gifts and skills that we can get into alignment with the vision and the mission and the project that where the funds can come in, you know? We've gotta, like, create that build a ditch, like an irrigation ditch for the water to make it to for the energies to make it where they wanna go. If you are here to caretake and disseminate the spiritual wealth, the inheritance, and that's mother's message, like, go ahead and be open, the manifestations are coming. This is the cool thing about this energy that we haven't had access to around manifestation, where you can kind of have this dream, vision, idea, and then it can come through other people, other energies. Like, we don't have to create it all. We've been in this place where we've been so like, it's all up to me and I don't know how to do it. Blah, blah, blah." And it's like, what if you had an idea and then somebody just comes forward with that piece of the puzzle or the next, so it's like really a magical time. And that's part of this whole period of time, pretty much for the rest of the year of 2024 is about claiming back the magical power of manifestation. It makes so much sense with Uranus and Taurus together. And what's going on behind the scenes in the backdrop is that now that Pluto is retrograde, Pluto turned retrograde um, on the 3rd or the 1st. Anyway, was it the 3rd? Yeah. So Pluto turned retrograde on the 3rd. And now that means that it's coming into Neptune made it to 29 degrees Pisces. And we're talking about Neptune making it to 29 degrees Pisces is so huge because Neptune and Pisces, we've gotten the message. It's a rehash, rebloom, healing, release of the stories and the distortions of the Piscean age, and a reclaiming of the miracles and the magic, the mystical spiritual revelation, like the energy of those auroras this weekend, you know? And so that's very powerful because it absolutely fits the astrology. And so with Neptune at all the way at 29 and Pluto move in Aquarius, but going to head back into Capricorn this whole time, they're going to be in sextile. And so the sex, even though Pluto has to go back into Capricorn, it's like, oh, the authoritarian issues have to bloom. We have to see that our leaders aren't really have our best interests in heart. Those we trusted, we can't trust at all. Nobody's who they say they are. All that is what this next 6 months is about. But it's also about like, oh, we have the power. We're taking it back. We're more powerful than this whole bullshit. And now we're going to manifest new earth. And it's so beautiful. And because it's kind of like once you realize that they don't have power over you, which is where we are at right now, it's it's an interesting transition to going ahead and taking your power and manifesting and co-creating with it, right? We gotta like work it, adjust, get used to it, feel it out. And that's what this time is about. And it's absolutely confirmed with the Pluto sextile Neptune, which already started. They're 3 degrees in sextile right now as of the 5th of May. And then on the 25th of May, there's that last week of May, so powerful. Then though they will move to 2 degrees apart and there'll be 2 degrees of sextile within 2 degrees all the way to September. And then the month of September and into October will be the 1 degree total magic. But Pluto will be in Capricorn. So we have the revealing of the false authority and the breakdown of all the false authority structures, but also the magic behind the scenes that's working because Pluto is going back to Capricorn, speaking of transforming structures. Neptune, we're saying, is the nightmare in the dream, getting out of the nightmare, moving into the dream. And sextile is just this like creative solutions. We can do this, we can work together, little of this, little of that, Jimmy the lock on our reality. So it's pure magic. And so keep that in mind that that's the backdrop telling us this next 6 months is about a revealing of false authority, but it's also about us stepping in to that manifestation and co-creation in real ways. Like, it's time for us to get this has been our biggest stress and problem and issue of supernova souls over these last few years is this feeling of being immobilized, stuck, not able to do the work we came here to do, nowhere to put our energy to be received. And now it's like boom, 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 falling into place. And you're getting in your role and the water's coming through the ditch and you got support and people and things coming together to support this co-creation of new earth. So that's the energy of that Pluto sextile Neptune, which peaks out in September and October. We'll still feel it all the way through the end of December, and that's gonna be really powerful as Pluto moves back into Aquarius on the 20th. So Pluto turns retrograde, which I think is excuse me, direct on October 12th, and I think that's a big marker for us. It won't make it back into Aquarius until November 11th, but the Pluto turning direct on October 12th is like the end of the old stories, the old saga of being under control and giving over our world and our energy to the false controllers and the usurpers and the parasitic energies. No wonder they just want to steal and poison our creations. And now they just can't. And it's so cool. It's such a powerful shift that we're in. Now, the sextile energy is getting massively activated with Jupiter. Jupiter is at 26 degrees right now. And by the end of the week, we'll be at 28 degrees. And then at 29 degrees, it will come into exact sextile with Neptune in Pisces. And so we've had that Saturn sextile Jupiter in Pisces and Taurus. And this is repeating the energy and highlighting the sextile we just talked about between Pluto and Neptune. So Jupiter in Taurus makes it sextile sextile, and then as any elements, so we'll talk about that because there's a kite possibility, and Black Moon Lilith in Virgo will oppose Neptune, making a kite shape. I don't have the exact dates of that, but that'll be really interesting configuration. And so it's kind of coming into form. A kite is about taking shape. It's like a kite in your birth chart is all these different aspects of yourself and pieces and talents and skills and gifts and understandings that you haven't been able to bring together. Exactly what we're talking about. And you can't fly your kite until you bring them together, and it typically happens later in life. Kites also need lift, and we're gonna have some of that because we got some Gemini activation coming with Jupiter moving over to Gemini on the 26th of May, and that's a big shift. Jupiter spends about a year in a sign, so it's like it really speaks to the whole energy. Jupiter is such an expander, and it brings more amplification. So we really feel the energy of Jupiter in the sign. And so Jupiter moving into Gemini is like, whoa, okay, we're moving into a whole new thing. And also, we have Venus moving into Gemini on the 24th. And so Venus and Jupiter come together at 29 degrees. And then it's of 29 degrees Taurus. And then they'll both be moving into Gemini. And it's talking about the voice of the feminine being heard again in the world, the expression of what's been suppressed, our emotions, our feelings, our love, our intuition. You know, they might still call you crazy, but it's not your problem because you know you're the spiritual wealth and you have the inheritance and you're in charge of that inheritance. And they can only get it when they can come back home to her, the mother, through you. So it's really powerful on that whole Gemini note that because it's like this huge Taurus bloom with all our personal planets going over Jupiter and Uranus and Taurus, and then all of a sudden, boom, 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 Jupiter's rolling it over into Gemini. So it's saying, all right, we're all about figuring out who we really are and our wealth and owning our wealth and deserving our wealth and our resources. And then what are we going to do with it? How are we going to sing the song? What are we going to express and share? And that's the Gemini activation, and it's really powerful because the messages is that Jupiter moves into Gemini on the 26th, Venus on the 24th, right? So Venus and the Gemini right behind it's like, come on, girl, let's go. And they had just came into their conjunction at 29 Taurus, so it was like coming into the wealth and deservingness so that we can express that wealth and that love and that truth in the world. So Jupiter's on board her dream. And then it's really powerful that in June, it won't be till June that Mercury catches back up to Venus. It's really wild because Venus and Mercury are not that far apart, in their conjunctions with, like, Venus comes up to Uranus on the 18th, and then Jupiter on the 23rd. Mercury comes up to Uranus on the 31st, and then the first week of June, Jupiter. So, they're close together, Mercury catching up, catching up, catching up to Venus as he comes out of retrograde shadow and starts to move faster again, and they don't catch back up until June 17th. And get this, at 29 degrees Gemini. So Mercury's like, "Wait, wait, wait, girl. I wanna help you sing your song. I'm on board. I met the mother. I remember her. I feel the love, the cosmic bride of Christ, like, that we're dealing with here in the awakening of Earth, and let's sing this song. Let's call home our cosmic love of the Christ consciousness back to Earth, in the bridal chamber." The divine masculine, divine feminine coming together. And that's an energy of Gemini, of expression and working together in collaboration. So that theme continues because once Venus moves into Gemini, now the sun then will be moving into Gemini on the 21st. So sun on the 21st, Venus on the 24th, Jupiter on the 26th, bam, 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 right into Gemini. And this is kind of speaking to that new Renaissance energy. How do we build new Earth? What does it look like? You know? And the message we've gotten because of all of the air energy over these next 200 years with Jupiter and Saturn coming together for conjunction in air signs. It's about a 200-year cycle saying this is how we do it through art, music, um, sound, frequency, color, shape, vibration, architecture. We demonstrate the mother's love through form, building beautiful things. And that's what happens. That's what happens when the masculine falls back in love with the feminine and is inspired by the goddess energy. He just wants to build beautiful things for her, to celebrate her, for her to enjoy. And it's like her resources to begin with, right? And how beautiful to take those resources and fashion them into something beautiful. So the co-creation of new earth and the new renaissance has an energy of anything you build, it's got to be beautiful, aesthetically pleasing and loving. And that's the mother. It's love. It's what's right and good and true and in alignment. And Taurus has that energy of like being able to enjoy, the full abundance, the comforts, and the beauty of this world. So really powerful energy. So, but then we're moving into the Taurus, or I mean, the Gemini, the expression of this divine feminine. And it's very powerful that Venus catches up to the sun because it's kind of like the sun Uranus right now today is like, who you, it's really not who you thought you are. And oh my God, get ready for the massive activation. Get on the train. And then Venus catching up to the sun is like who you are is not who we thought you are because we haven't been integrated in our masculine and feminine. We have taken the power of our intuition and our emotions, the divine feminine and our higher faculties in our body of intuitive power. And we've separated ourselves from them and thrown them aside. We can talk, we know the Atlantean catastrophes, programmed to fear our own power, all that stuff. But now we integrate so that we can sing the song of that sacred union. And so the true self, this activation of your true self is also an activation of your divine feminine. And also probably, the masculine relationship to the feminine in your own being. And what's he want to build for her, you know? So they come to the sun, Venus catches up to the sun from June 2nd to 5th. And this is really powerful. First week of June. And again, activating, but in a whole different way. Activation of our true self and our power according to the feminine. And it's powerful because they move very at a similar rate, Venus and the sun right now, or and so they'll stay together for quite a while. They come together at 11 degrees, 12 degrees, 13 degrees, and 14 degrees, which has the energy of like a countdown or a count up. Like here we go, 1, 2, 3, go, 3, 2, 1, go. And so that first week of June is like a blast off. But into the expression, the song, the sharing of the love, the sharing of the inheritance. The most joy you ever could possibly experience in this lifetime will come when you are a disseminator of this inheritance. You can finally share your gifts with the world, but only with those who are worthy, or we can't go at all. You know? Is that why we beat ourselves up in unworthiness? Because we need to understand the human condition intrinsically, inherently. And then we talk about our inherent wisdom, which is our inheritance, our spiritual inheritance, and the gifts that we have. And own it. Don't give it away. It's kind of like that a competitive jealousy type energy coming along and being like, well, why do you get to have it? What what's yours is mine, hand it over, like a sibling energy. That's Gemini, and we have to be like, I did a lot of work for this, and it's precious. And I didn't do the work so that I could leak it out and waste my time and energy anymore. I've been here long enough as a prisoner. Let's get on with it. And the thing about the inheritance is that we can't just be prisoners and enslaved for all this time without the next phase of, breaking free. And then it's not just about breaking free, it's about full expression, coming into our full expression of who we really are. And that's also this next phase, the manifestation coming into form. What does it mean for your spiritual inheritance that you worked your ass off and you went to hell and back for to come into form? And are you going to let, you know, them come and shit on it? Or are you going to hold it precious? It's your sacred creation, you know? They're not holding it precious. The people around us have not been able to hold us, our energy, what we offer, anything precious. We're nothing to them. And what happens when we become the everything that we are? And this is a very tricky situation. No wonder the South Node in Libra like activation is happening because so that last week of May when Mars comes up to Chiron, the eclipse point in Chiron, Mars North Node is on the 19th and 20th. Okay. That's right when the sun will be moving into Gemini. And so it'll be a big shift of energy there. But Mars going over the North Node on the 19th, then the eclipse point on the 26th, and Chiron on the 30th, that whole last week of May. This is where Mars says, all right, Mars is our warrior. Mars is our get up and go. Mars is our take action. And you know what it feels like? We've been talking about how Rudolf Steiner, I'd mentioned that Rudolf Steiner talks about 3 different paths of initiation: the path of the head, the path of the heart, the path of the power of the will. And you can, use multiple, I think, paths and at different times in our lives, but the path we have to understand that supernova souls, this transition shift we're in right now is going from the path of study and learning and understanding that we've all done, and our path of devotion. We've been coming finding our way back to the mother, and now it's time to act. Initiation through action, through will. We haven't had permission for this, the manifestation. So Mars going over these points for the last week of May is saying now we move into the path of initiation of the power center of will and action. That's very, very different. And it's unknown. We don't know who we are. We don't know how to move forward. We don't know what we're doing. And yet we know we're doing something really big and we're doing it with her. And so she, we just look for the next step. The next, and if we don't know it, we stop and we breathe and we love her and we appreciate and we just, as much as The key to coming back to the energy of the mother is this mutual reciprocity where all indigenous cultures lived in this way. It's not rocket science. It's the simplest foundational experience of being human. This natural gratitude for what's offered by the world, what the Mother Earth offers. She's magically regenerative. And so living your life, that was the energy of the festival, celebrating the festivals throughout the year, celebrating the harvest, celebrating the life force, celebrating all the gifts. And it was like this, like, ah, and you're in this loving relationship, and she's continuing to give to you, and you're continuing to receive and celebrate and honor her and overflow to those around you. And this is the only place we can move forward from. Is this message. We got to come back to her. And that in that place of feeling cared for and loved, feeling mutual reciprocity with the mother and gratitude dance, then you can step into your inheritance, into your dissemination of wealth. You know, those 1% with the physical wealth and the paper money and the stealing from us and Babylonian money magic system. It was all just about stacking it up and owning the wealth and buying lots of things and accumulating. The wealth we are bestowed with is about the abundance principle. More is more. You got to share it and more comes. We're feeling this, right? Our whole economy is changing. You know, the abundance that's coming in is like shifting is going to be shifting us into a whole new energy where we live and act and give and offer from our heart and our soul, not because we have the time or we need the money or we got to work it out and this and that and the other thing. We've been living in this whole contrived situation of scarcity. And so, what's been happening is that we're gradually getting more access, claiming back our access to the energy, our our birthright, our life force birthright that's ours by existing as source. And this is like they've been taxing it all along the way, stealing all our resources in multiple levels and multiple ways, poisoning us, right? If we can't steal it, then we'll poison it. And so we're getting more and more access to this life force energy, which is our birthright. That is actually what's the precursor and spurring on the wealth revolution. First, it's energetic shift. So be open to this little places in your life where you can move into a different economy. It's so hard for supernovas because we've given ourselves away again and again because we were told we had no value and treated as if we were garbage. And those that treat us with garbage are going to have a hard reckoning homecoming if they want to make this leap. But it's not our problem. Now we run with the prize. We don't stop and give away the prize to all those who don't want to work for it. We run with it and we say, look, do you want to get on the path? Because this is what's possible. And so everything, the avenues we're creating, the message coming in of the avenues for abundance is it's a demonstration project of the mother's love, you know, in a nutshell for your business brand. And that's who you are too. This incredible abundance. And it's such an honor to know you. So, wow, these are such incredible times because just know that we've got Mercury inching out of shadow, but a bloom at the end of Aries, Mars in Aries. So, we're still being asked to completely own our shit, say, no, it's mine. I will use it as source and the mother intended, and no other way. Um, and then we've got this massive activation of these shower of stars of coming into who we really are. So the pattern of these conjunctions, and we'll just talk through. We got the 13th, the 18th, the 19th, the 23rd, the 31st, the 4th of June. So it's like it's just this beautiful dance of activation. And the rhythm to this is going over first Uranus, and then it's like Uranus and Jupiter are kind of close, but not as much. So they're like then making a leap to Jupiter. And so Uranus is the activator, Jupiter's the expander. So it's like activation, expansion. and then recapitulation, activation, expansion. So we're in this like breathing, like big activations, and we need to um, take the run with it, like run with the expansion, but also the expansion is going to expose anything left in the dark that still needs to be addressed. And we have to then we have to rest and heal and assimilate, and then another activation and expansion. So it's kind of like that activation, expansion, uh, rest and rejuvenation, assimilation, you know, and that's the kind of so pace yourself over these next 3 weeks and know that it's just this you just keep breathing, just see it like a breath. It's like, oh, whoa, 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 and then you got to take that time to rest, to go down, to take care of your body. Really, really important right now because we're going through the radical revolution energetically, and then the earth and a physical form is of course going to affect our physical body. Like we're shedding and remaking and recreating. So just be very wonderful and nice to yourself. It's a way to affirm and confirm that you feel worthy and deserve, and you're willing to uptake the nutrients and the love and the life force that the mother has to offer, you know, by taking care of yourself. You're saying, Mom, I'm going to let you care for me as I care for myself. And maybe I didn't have one person in this life that actually cared for me, but I know you do. And I feel it, you know? It's like you were withheld, the love was withheld from you very deliberately. SuperNova. They didn't want you to know the love that you are. And that is the wealth and the inheritance. Don't give it away, you know? And yet celebrate, honor it, and grow. And, so the best way to do that right now is to like demonstrate that we're willing to receive the mother's love by taking care of ourselves and self care on all levels of our life. What does my body need? What does my psyche need? What does my mind need? If I'm going to be a disseminator of spiritual wealth and a spiritual inheritance, then I better put my pieces together and be whole and complete. I better be a demonstration project of the mother's love, and so we got to patch up those holes and clear up those things. And this is what we've been doing in these activations. And so if you did not get that activation, the Taurus new moon activation of last week, go back and get that one. It was really, really powerful and really special. Not so much of the clearing energies, but of working with very powerful and beautiful magical guidance that's available for us that we were cut off from. So really beautiful. And also the personal power course was really awesome. Owning your energetic fields, personal power. You can get the replay of that at any time. It's a standalone course, but there's also a beautiful series if you want to do it as a series. This particular course was about the third chakra, personal power. So the replay of that is really great. And we worked on authority contracts. If you're coming up against difficulties in claiming back your energy and owning your power and separating from forces that the harassment and all that, like, um, that course is for you. Very powerful clearings and just practicing and exercising, holding and owning our power in our space. And it's just exactly on target with Mars and Aries in this message of like, hey, you guys, you didn't know who you were and you didn't know how powerful you are, but now there's no denying it. Sun Uranus today, it's like, quit trying to hide your light, right? We talked about that. And that light requires radical change, in our life to accommodate it. Our life might have to look really different. We need to be open to that. And it needs to be contained and honored. So just like we're containing and honoring ourselves. And the mother is doing that too. So she's helping us. She understands. She has such great compassion for all we've gone through. So it's like we come back to her love. This whole astrology is saying we come back to her love. You can come back and receive her love again when you own your energy. Interesting. Because here we were being like, well, take a little of this, and maybe you'll like me, and maybe you'll be my friend, and maybe you'll accept me as who I am, and I'll give you, give you, give you, give. And then mother says, I want to love you. And nothing her message last week was like, what did she say? I will not deny you the full love of what I have for you, which is actually what's yours, she says. Nobody can take it. We've been letting them, you know? So it's this whole thing because we got the message about we can't move into the Aquarian age while we're leaking out. We can't make this leap into the new while we still have cords and plugs and leaking out our energy. It just doesn't This is not gonna work, you know? And so to feel loved and cared for by the mother, ironically, we have to take back our energy from everywhere we've given it away. It feels very selfish and weird and kinda like, well, I've been tending to these energies, people in my space, these problems, issues of everybody else, and who am I without that stuff? What's my point? What's my purpose? Oh, you are a child of light with the access to a massive spiritual inheritance that you get to bestow upon the world, you know? So incredibly powerful and activating times. Let's just stay really connected. And the next lunation will be the Sagittarius full moon on May 23rd. And that's right when Venus will be exactly conjunct Jupiter. The sun will have just gone over Jupiter. Um, and the sun and Venus coming closer together. Let's see when this. Yeah, the sun and Venus will start their conjunction on the 24th. So that's gonna be the Sagittarius full moon will start the Sun Venus energy. It's kinda like Sagittarius full moon is, coming to the end or in the middle and the whole experience of all these conjunctions with Uranus and Jupiter, and then the Sun Venus conjunction in Gemini, comes on the heels of that, and a Gemini new moon on Thursday, June 6th. So, we'll those lunations for activation. So I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for your support, being a part of the Soul Group. It's $10 a month to have access to the Soul Tribe live chats on the Telegram channel, weekly updates. And then for $20 a month, you get all that as well as access to the new and full moon activations and live sharing circles afterwards. Really great way to come and share. Also, the Telegram chats, come and share, come and talk to us, be the leader you are, come meet us, come show us, come talk to us about the way that you want to create an avenue for abundance and what you're going through. So powerful right now for supernova souls to come together. So thank you so much for your support and being a part of that soul tribe. There's also a link to donate if you just want to make an offering that way. I really appreciate that for our movement, for these messages, for supernova tribe and all that we get to do as we move into this new chapter. So thank you so much for being here, just listening and being a part and paying attention and resonating. If you do, I can't tell you anything you don't already know. So thank you for being here. And that resonance and being present with these messages is also a huge gift as we're looking at these different ways that abundance can show itself on different levels in our wealth revolution. And that's the tables being turned, you know, the money changer tables being turned, the tables flipped. That means that you going from being completely rejected and unrecognized in your spiritual wealth to being the spiritual inheritance of the world. How do we reflect this? The mother says self care, take care of yourself. Love the mother and let her love you back. It's mutual reciprocity. Feel her energy, go somewhere where you can feel her energy, meditate, tell her you love her, and let her love you back. It's quite amazing and beautiful. And so we're all going to be celebrating this mother's love, bringing people back to connection through demonstration. And so it's beautiful that we're in a time where we start to be able to see these manifestations come into form. Very exciting. And so let's stay connected, supernova souls. I love you so much. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.